is Sunday, June 21st, the summer solstice. Hey, we started on Easter Sunday. Now we're here at summer solstice. Get ready for a special Father's Day edition of the Ken and Glenn Show with a guy named Scott. And oh, the story we have to share. Welcome to Ken and Glenn. And yeah, me, a guy named Scott. Guys,
Hey.
I have looked forward to this since I heard a secret last week, but even more so after you guys gave me a call last night. So I don't know if you want to jump into it right now or not, but man, what a great story that we have to tell on tonight's show.
Well, under the heading of things that
we're getting feedback from you, Glenn.
you're getting feedback, well, I've often wanted to tell you how I feel. Isn't it my job to provide you with feedback? Are you that uncomfortable with that concept in a relationship, Ken?
I love feedback. I just
Jesus.
don't like microphone feedback.
Hey, I just want to let you know we're getting feedback, and I don't respond well to feedback. I just want you to know that. I want to be able to do as I please when I please without your feelings involved.
Yeah, I don't need.
Are you getting feedback still?
I don't think so. No.
Okay,
No,
cool.
We're good.
So under the heading of things that suck, wasn't it just 7 short days ago, Scott, that you had your own show called the Scott McCain Show? It lasted 1 week. What happened, man?
How quickly we get replaced in show business, right? I mean, there's no guarantees.
The ratings came in, and sorry,
They were so bad.
Hey, welcome back from your vacay. You were missed, my friend.
Thank you,
Scott
guys.
and I love you dearly, and the truth is, as much as we could pretend otherwise, we missed you.
Oh, that's nice. Hey, I had a great time. I may be scratching throughout the show because my last day, I was like, oh, this is my last day of the Florida sun. Let's go soak some of it up. And oh, Lord. Yeah. May have overdone it.
Well, thank you for clarifying that it was the sun, because you really ought not to open a category by talking about coming home from vacation itching. I mean, that's a wide open topic.
I almost didn't even put Cindy's comment up on the screen, but we'll let it fly.
Oh, Cindy, she gave us a great. See, there's some feedback right there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Listen, so I gotta tell this story. Like, I'm first off, we should have been in Nashville way before we made it to Nashville. But there were accidents, and there was construction, and there were 5 women in the car with me, and there were stops, and there were so many things that happened. We were about 2.5 hours behind schedule, and which I didn't really have a schedule. I was just like, we're gonna go, and we'll stop and get a room overnight, and we'll come back, finish the drive on Sunday. Well, Jill's like, I really want to eat dinner in Nashville. And I'm like, I'm starving. We're going to eat now. And she's like, no, let's wait till Nashville. I'm starving. I want to eat now. So we get off and we eat. So I did not realize that I was actually throwing a wrench in the works, but we'll forget about that for a second. So we eat, we carry on. Eventually we get to Nashville. Whole time, Jill is texting with somebody. Now, a few days before, Glenn asks me for Jill's cell phone number. And I'm like, oh, he wants to try to plan a surprise visit on my birthday, which is in July. But okay, here.
Go ahead and give them the date so that people can purchase their gifts now.
Yes. Early by now.
Yeah, July 17th. So I thought, well, he's a planner. He's just planning in advance to make a trip up. And so Jill was texting off and on. And I kept saying, who are you texting? And she's like, none of your business. And I'm like, at one point I go, so are they coming up this weekend for Father's Day, or are they waiting until my birthday? And she goes, who? And I go, Glenn and Carolyn. And she looked at me and she goes, whatever. Why do you want to try to ruin every surprise? We're talking about your birthday. And that was it. So we're driving on. We're heading up north, up the interstate. We get to Nashville.
That's Interstate 65 for those of you playing at home.
65. And we get to Nashville, and this is very uncharacteristic of my wife, just so you know. She says, babe, I need you to get off the next exit. And I go, why?
Buddy,
like,
there's a medical terminology here. It's called a spontaneous bladder infection.
I don't know. No,
it hits without warning.
I think it was, yeah. So she's sitting, she goes, I need you to, I go, you couldn't have told me about this miles ago. I could have stopped. Like, what? How in the world does this happen? Like, all of a sudden, like, I mean, and it was emergency mode. And I'm like, how in the world is this even happening? I'm looking
Show us
at
what the breathing looked like.
Oh,
you reenacted it last night, and I think the audience needs to see it.
She's like sitting there, like acting this whole thing out. I didn't know she was acting. She's like shaking a little bit, and I go, Jill, the next exit is another freaking interstate. I can't get off there. I'll just be getting off on another interstate. I can't do it. And she goes, there's got to be an exit coming up. You've got to get off at the next exit. I mean it. And I go, Jill, I don't know about this area. This doesn't look very good here. And she goes, Ken, I don't care. Get off the exit and find a gas station. And I go, what is wrong with you? This is not my wife. A, she never talks to me like that. B, like, who are you? And I was waiting on her head to start spinning around or something. Like, what in the hell is going on here? So finally we come up to an exit and she goes, there, get off there. And I go, Jill, this is not a good area. And she goes, get off that exit. Meanwhile, I've got a deputy sheriff hat on. I'm like, this is not cool. So we come to the traffic light. She goes, turn left. There's a gas station down on the left. And I go, she goes, an Exxon. And I go, what? How'd you see that? And then I look down. She's got her phone out and it's got her maps open. I go, oh, okay. She's looked it up. That's how I didn't even think about it. So we're sitting at the longest light ever. And she goes, she's sitting there going, this light. Oh my God, this light. And I'm like, this is not good. Something's really wrong with my wife. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Finally, we turn left. We go up this hill, come down. She's like, there, go to that Exxon. I'm like, there's a Shell over there. It doesn't have as many people in it. She goes, go to the Exxon. I go, okay. So we go to the light. I turn left, pull into the Exxon station. I'm pulling up, go past the pumps, and I see Cat Hill. And I'm like, God, that woman looks familiar. And I'm just whipping in anyway. Jill hops out, runs inside. I'm watching her. Meanwhile, there's a couple of homeless people like right over here. Did you see them? and I'm thinking, all right, we're getting murdered. That's it. My wife's whatever is going to explode. We're also going to all be murdered. And this is just great. And then I look over, glance in the mirror, and I see Cat Hill in the mirror walking up. And I'm like, I thought that Glenn arranged for Cat to meet us so we could meet Cat in person. That is so nice. And just then, boom, Glenn pops around and scares the crap out of me. And I'm like, oh my God, I knew something was up. I knew it. And I couldn't even believe it. I was blown away completely.
At an Exxon station on the side of Interstate 65 and scene.
There's got to be a country song written about that. That's good.
Believe me, it was worth it to watch Ken grin.
It was amazing. Absolutely.
Did you see Carrie Lynn's comment? That's so cool.
Oh God. Yeah. Now I'm gonna question everything she ever says to me ever again.
That's a great comment.
I need to pee. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Exactly.
You're lying. You're lying. You can hold it.
Uh,
Oh my gosh, it was unbelievable. Glenn, you made my year, man. That was, dude, that was so
Better to give than receive, buddy. I got to tell you, I'm convinced I got the bigger blessing because here's the thing. I started my enjoyment long before yours. My enjoyment was bubbling and brewing last week when I called Scott and said, "Hey, guess what I'm going to do?" And he goes, "That's great." He pulled a Tony the Tiger on me. He goes, "That's great." He goes, "I love it, man." I said, "So don't leak anything." And you know, he was great about it. Yes, the next stop on the surprise tour will be Las Vegas for
there
Scott.
we go. I love it. I'm ready. Tammy was joking because all week long I'm walking around going, I know a secret. It was killing me not to, to keep my mouth shut. But guys, what a great, great surprise. That's Glenn. Glenn, what an extraordinary gift. That is just so.
Listen, the brevity of the dance always reminds me, if there's any question as to should you, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
The answer is just yes. If you want to do something to show someone what they mean, you don't do it posthumously. And if that occurs that way accidentally, then okay, do it posthumously. But if you have say so in the matter, and most of us do, whatever you're plotting, whatever mischief you're toying with, just go with yes and green light the experience. You'll be glad you did. And then hopefully by the time you get to the end of your visit here to the planet, you will have accumulated a rather impressive list of things you said yes to show your love to people who've made a difference in your life. Ken has made a massive difference in my life. You have made a massive difference in my life. Nothing I'm bashful about admitting. I'm so fortunate. I'm so blessed. I'm so grateful. And I'm twice blessed, gentlemen, because not only am I blessed, but the bigger blessing is that I know I'm blessed.
Yeah.
So being aware of your blessings. And if any of you want to chime in about some fun things you've done to let someone know while they're breathing that they mean the world to you, we'd love to hear it. And always a pleasure, Weldon Whitehurst. Always.
Dude, I honestly, it happens all the time that, super well-known celebrities get on a plane and fly to random places to meet me. No, I mean, dude,
it's almost boring for you at this point. It happens so frequently, isn't it?
It's becoming a little bit, what's the term, old hat?
Yeah.
No, dude, that is like the first time ever, man. Like, I can't even believe, honestly.
Buddy, I had Harrison Ford call my mother. I mean, I've got so many of these. I'd love to tell you it was original. Now, meeting someone on the side of the interstate at an Exxon, that was a first. But I have had so many fun things like this. Larry the Cable Guy. Look, here in order of priorities, my brother Brian, Scott, you'll appreciate this. My brother Brian, God rest his soul, his priority chart was God and Larry the Cable Guy. There was no in between. And then somewhere fourth or fifth down the line was family. So it was God, alcohol, and Larry the Cable Guy shared the same second shelf. And so when we worked together doing, what did we do? Delta Farce, Larry the Cable Guy and I worked together. And I said, hey, Larry, it would be everything for us to phone my brother. And he did. And he called him and left the most incredible message on his machine. And this is what we want to do. This is what we want to do. Tell us about your vacation. Other than that fun ending to the trip home, did you have a spectacular week in Destin?
Dude, I'm first off, I'm not finished.
Oh, sorry. I was trying to wrap it up. I was trying to, move the show on.
So I gotta say, first off, how do I say this? Okay. Like I've met a lot of people in person that I met via social media first and became friendly or friends. And a lot of those people are not the same in person. They're just not. You are even more glorious in person. And I don't want to sound like some whack job, but dude, you're just a good, genuinely good person.
Thank you, buddy.
The way that you took to my my little girl,
Abigail's the best.
the way that I mean, dude, you sat with he sat amongst all of us. He sat right next to Abigail. In fact, Kat started to sit next to Glenn, and Abigail said, "No, I want to sit there."
That's great.
She's not afraid. She asks for what she wants. So he sits with Abigail across from me, and just dude, you were just so like the entire time, your attention, like you gave her your full on attention.
I sung to her.
I know, and you asked her to sing a song to you, she sang to you, and it was just this interaction. And so when we were leaving Nashville, she was floating on cloud nine. She said, she says on the way out of town in the car, she's all the way back in the back, the third row seat. She says, well, that was just as big a surprise for me for my birthday. It was just so sweet. I mean, I'm trying not to cry right now, but like, dude, it was incredible, man. So from the bottom of my heart, my little girl, my wife, we love you, dude. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, buddy. You're welcome.
Appreciate you.
You know, I know you appreciate the saying daddy's little girl, and our little girl is 37. So wow. to see Abigail at 10, it just scratches the surface of those memories of how much I enjoyed raising children. Yeah. And she's friggin' adorable. I mean, he has the most beautiful 10-year-old daughter, and his 14-year-old is stunning. Just really, really beautiful young ladies. And I love Abigail's eagerness. I love her level of cheer. And yeah, it was great.
It was really, really cool. And I love the fact that, I mean, because dude, look, I read the article, by the way, in the magazine that you gave me.
Cool.
Gifted me. Jill has, I'm sure, brought it in somewhere by now, but the 24 magazine. And, you know, that was written in 2006. I don't know I'm sure you know that.
Yes, I'm aware.
I
was there.
I don't know if you know this, but you've done over 250 movies and TV spots. Did you know? I'm not sure if you're aware. But like, you know, there are people that are in your position that are unbelievably pretentious. And Scott, we've had these conversations about some people, right?
Yes, we have some pretentious.
They have no place in being pretentious. You know, it's like, dude, get over yourself. You're an idiot. Glenn is like just real, man. He's just a real and really good person. So it was amazing. It made my year. It all of us. My oldest daughter, Renee Rose said, the alarm just went off on my iPad. I just woke up. I'm late. Did I miss anything here?
Okay, could you guys just start from the top and let's
Yeah.
You missed a lot. You'll need to go back and watch the first.
That's what the replay for, right?
20 minutes, yeah. But anyway, so yeah, dude, you impacted every single person there. My oldest daughter's friend was there with us, and she's texting she's texting her family. Oh my God, do you guys know this guy? Do you guys know this guy? It was incredible. So thank you, Glenn. I love you.
You're welcome, brother. And would you like to? I just sent you a picture of us there.
Oh yeah, here I'll show that. I'll upload it.
And I think that our audience deserves to see the video. I think Scott would enjoy it. Just the video of the moment that Ken and I met, because my friend Kat, cool. I said, here's my cell. It's set to video. Just press the button and roll. How
are you going to show it?
Well, I was going to send it to you and you screen share it.
Okay, you can try. That typically would need a little bit more.
Should I use mail drop?
Oh my God. That. I don't know.
All right. Well, I sent it. We'll see if it works. But I at least sent you a photo with Abigail. You should be able to access and just show them that at least.
Yeah, I got that. Let me see if I can.
And then the video is, I don't know. I just sent it, so we'll see if it gets to you.
Let me see if I can. You texted it?
I texted the video to your email.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can get it.
But I don't know anything about sizes, and it's too big, and you need to mail drop, and I'm so not techno savvy. But in the meantime, there we go. That's what I wanted to show you.
Oh, wow.
Look at that. Isn't that a great picture?
It's a great picture.
Look at that. Look at that $1 million grin on her face.
She was blown away.
Do you know that her feet never touched the ground there, Ken?
I know.
Do you see the door open? I went and retrieved her. I pulled her out of there and brought her into my arms. And it was just beautiful.
And Abigail's, a lot of people have seen when Abigail came on and was talking to Glenn in her British accent. And she goes, Daddy. And I go, yeah. She goes, is that the tea and crumpets guy? I said, it is. She's like, let me out. And she was all the way in the back. Oh,
hey, one more, and then we can push on into the evening, which is that picture that you took that you posted on Facebook. How about the picture of the two of us?
Of you and I.
The one and only picture we took together last night, I think.
No, I took a couple of them, but yes. Hang on, I'm pulling it up. I sent it to Jeffrey Gittimer too. I sent that picture to him. So here, let me share. Share. There it is.
There we are. And notice the glamour. Notice the glamour of the gas station.
Yes. The lighting is excellent, guys.
It really is. It's not bad. Not bad at all.
What a great shot.
I was ducking because, we have so much racial tension in the air right now. And I make the mistake of standing there with a white guy that's wearing a sheriff's hat. I mean, nice choice, Ken. It's like, could you?
I just grabbed a hat.
Could you put a bigger target on your head?
I know, right? Hey, man, I like confronting things head on. Just confront them. Let's get it over with. Let's talk about it. So, dude, yes, that was an absolutely unbelievable surprise, and wow, just unbelievable.
And happy Father's Day.
Yeah, same
happy
to
Father's
you
Day.
Yeah, wow. So, what are we talking about?
About 90 minutes.
Thanks for stopping by, Scott.
There's my guys. How am I doing? Huh?
I got to admit, my feelings are somewhat wounded because when you say it to me, you remove me every time. When you say it to Scott, you never. There it is. Now you're an equal opportunity friend. Welcome to the club, Scott.
He's like a dealer in Vegas. He's.
Yes. No chips, no theft. Only jazz hands.
That is so funny. you said you wanted to talk about doing
Friendship. Scott
yeah.
was talking about, friendship.
Taking action.
And what does friendship include? And I originally mentioned the idea of surprises, and Scott said, and friendship. And I think he's really right. It's, what does the word friendship really, really mean?
Yeah.
Right? We know all the surface garbage that's associated with the term friend. She's my friend. He's my friend.
Yeah, that.
But really, when's the last time you did anything for a friend? What are how about this? What are the indicators? It's probably a solid question. What are the indicators that someone is your friend? And what qualifiers do you have for friendship? What is involved? I love the saying, make them earn you. I love that saying.
I love
that. Make them earn you. And that doesn't mean that you put yourself up on some sort of lofty shelf. What it means is you don't dole yourself out as if you're at some sort of garage sale where you're just giving out everything that you stand for to everyone who you don't even know. You don't even know what their intentions are. You don't know anything. And
right.
you've started by giving your most treasured gifts. And I don't know that that's a great approach. And I speak from experience because it's one that I used for years. And then I heard a well-known psychologist, one of these well-known television psychologists, who said that he was raised, and I'll tell you who it was Dr. Phil. And while I don't have a statue of Dr. Phil that I bow to, he is a fellow Texan, and from time to time he says some incredibly wise things.
Sure does.
And one of the things that he says, I'm a fan of Dr. Phil. I'm also a huge Wayne Dyer fan.
Yeah.
And what I love so much about Dr. Dyer is that he was a common sense dude.
Yeah.
He just spoke from a place where you didn't need to be deep to get it. You had to just stop and go, well, that only makes tremendous sense. So what Dr. Phil said is that he was raised in Texas. And one of the things we Southerners, or rural people, because Scott, I know that you're from a rural area in Caruthersville, Indiana. And one of the things that we are taught in rural America.
Is that wrong or right?
No, it's true. I can't believe he remembers Caruthersville. It's so cool. Thank you, Glenn. Yes.
Oh, I try to pay attention, dude. We've been doing a talk show together for a couple of months. So, but in Caruthersville, like so many other places in rural America, it is a good and a wholesome pattern, characteristic, if you will, to give people the benefit of the doubt. And here's what Dr. Phil had to say about that. He said, I practiced that and it got me into a lot of trouble. And he said, I no longer do it. And I want to speak on Dr. Phil's behalf and share additional thoughts, which are simply this. When you meet someone, anyone, you don't want to go to the opposite of giving someone the benefit of the doubt. What you do, if you're healthy and you want a healthy relationship, is you meet them from neutrality. That's all. You don't have any opinions about anything. You just have met someone, and the moment you meet them, the noticing begins. What are you noticing?
Right.
And in that noticing is there an accompanying sensation of green litness, meaning there's a green light that's saying, come on in, the water's warm. It feels really good. And when you feel that, then by all means act on it. But be careful about just jumping in and giving anyone and everybody the benefit of the doubt, because here's the problem. It's a numbers game. And eventually, if you give everybody in advance, unearned, the benefit of the doubt, you're going to bump into someone who does not have your best interest in mind. It's an admirable trait, but I don't know if it's the smartest trait. So the phrase I emerged with following that teaching is make them earn you, which means let someone show you by their behavior that the two of you are a wonderful match. And certainly both of you guys have done that, which is why I love you, because your behavior indicates that we are a wonderful match. But to assume that all matches are wonderful,
Right.
that's not an accurate statement, and it is rippled with trouble. We see a lot of major crimes that occur that were rooted in relationships that placed trust before earning said trust.
Yeah.
So it's not a paranoid attitude. It's just, none of us are crap. We're not crap. We're all fine china, and treat yourself accordingly. Don't give yourself away at a garage sale.
But I also think the flip side of that is you have to, in a friendship, we'll just call it a relationship, but if you're going to be friends or have a relationship, there's got to be reciprocal value. Maybe not, like, and I don't mean necessarily on a fiscal level, but what kind of value are you bringing to other people's lives?
Nicely put.
Right? Like, what are you bringing? I've met so many people that, and I know that you guys have too, that want to be your best friend in the world, but they really don't. They don't do anything to bring you value. They just want to take. Is that the right?
Well, you're really trying to safely step around that, and I don't know that there's another way to state it.
Look, I wear my emotions and on my sleeve, and I have for a very long time. And I quickly trust people, and I've trusted people that I had no damn business trusting, but I trusted them anyway. In spite of red flags even going up, I trusted them anyway. In spite of people saying, hey, don't trust that person, I trusted them anyway and gave them the benefit of the doubt. And then I look back on those things and I'm like, wait a minute, I did that. I set
Correct.
up for that.
And so let me pose the question, how would those transactions have gone? I know you can't know with great certainty, but you can theorize with us. If we could rewind the game film and instead you replaced your just give it all away policy with make them earn you.
Right.
What if you had been a wee bit more careful and made people earn your company? Might that have had a favorable impact?
Well, yes. I'm thinking of one in particular that I don't know that it would have mattered because I still would have been played in the long run anyway. But I think that if we, you go back to the 4 agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz, right? And the 4th agreement, I believe it's the 4th one, is always do your best. And if you just always do your best we live in a world where everybody, number one, not everybody, but a lot of people are walking around looking for reasons to be offended and pissed off. And I mean, it's the truth. Like, it's the hat that I was wearing in that picture. I told Glenn the story. We were in a restaurant in Southern Alabama, and I got a lot of dirty looks wearing that hat in that restaurant. And when we were getting ready to leave, this guy looks over at, or we were getting ready to be seated rather. This guy and his son were getting ready to check out. He looks over at me and he goes, "Are you sure you want to be wearing that hat right now?" And I looked at him and I went, "I'm 1000% sure. I have a lot of friends in law enforcement and I support them, and they're really good friends of mine." And he's like, and he reaches back, and I'm thinking, oh God.
And all he was trying to do was pay the friggin' bill.
Yeah, right. He pulls out his wallet and he flips open his badge and says, "I'm with you. I appreciate your support." Wow. And so he's an officer in the county south of Atlanta. And I went, "Oh my God, are you kidding me?" And he said, "No." He goes, there were 4 officers on duty for the entire city of Atlanta last night. 18 people were shot last night in Atlanta, and not one law enforcement agency responded to any 18 of them because all of the officers but 4 called in sick. I was like, wow. But I mean, how long can you go? How long can you go being, there are good cops, okay? And we don't have to go off on this tangent, but there are good cops. And how long can you be in a profession where everybody hates you? Like, how do you do that? How do you? So they all just called in. But anyway, so I don't know how I went down that path, but I think that we are so quick to judge. I think that we're just very, very quick to judge people, and instead of getting to know them and genuinely trying to figure out how we can bring value into their lives. And I think that that's the most important part.
I heard a speaker one time talk, and I don't recall who it was, but it talked about that we kind of have our plug, our energy plug. And when you become acquainted or become friends with someone, then you each plug into the other. And the example that she used was that there are some people that all the energy flows one direction, that they are taking the energy from you and they are draining your energy. There are other people that have so much energy, it's overwhelming. But her point was that over the course of the friendship, there's an energy balance. Now, if you're truly friends, there will be times in your life that you need to take the energy because you need it, because you don't have it for whatever is there. There are other times that you have to be the kind of friend that you are the energy giver. You are the person that's trying to help. But what you look for is in balance, that the level of energy that each of you are bringing to the friendship is in balance. We talk about Jim Rohn a lot, and I love Jim Rohn's example. He called it the Mexican prison example. If you were unjustly, I love it. There it is. If you were unjustly arrested and thrown in a Mexican prison, you have some friends that if you made your one call to them, they'd go, "Oh my gosh, that is so horrible. I can't wait to hear the story when you get home."
Right.
Then you have other friends that would say, "Oh my gosh, that's terrible. What do I need to send to help you?"
Yeah.
Then he said you would have other friends, and if you can count them on one hand, you are a very lucky person. You have some very special friends that would say, "I am coming to get you."
Yep.
And then there's even a 4th group, Scott, that has gone unmentioned to this point, which is the group that says, "Well, thank God you speak Spanish."
Oh my God.
One of my great friends, Mark Mayfield, and I, we had won an auction for a trip to Pebble Beach. So we got to play golf at Pebble Beach, which was incredible. Wow. And Mark's been a friend of mine since he was in FFA. He was national president when I was state president in Indiana. So we've been friends forever. And I may have had a glass or two beyond my limit of wine. And I was trying to tell him how much I appreciated his friendship. And we were sharing a hotel room at Pebble Beach when I turned to him, assuming he had heard the Jim Rohn story, saying, "If I'm ever in a Mexican prison, you're my guy." Well, if you don't know the background of that story, telling somebody that they would be your prison friend when you're sharing a hotel room maybe wasn't the best description of friendship that I could have come up with at that particular time. But you get the point.
Oh my God.
That happened like 6-7 years ago, and it's still, he throws that.
What was the old joke? If you were a real friend, you'd have been in here with me.
Yeah, right.
But the other aspect, I think, that sometimes makes friendship is the most wonderful thing in the world. But I think one of the things that makes it difficult sometimes too is that people change, and maybe you grow and change, and the friendship isn't right anymore, and maybe the other person changes, and the friendship isn't right anymore. I think the key word in friendship is integrity.
Mm.
Right? I mean, I joke. I've got some friends that I'd play poker with them over the phone.
Nicely put.
Because you just trust them so much, and it's hard to have a deep, lasting, significant friendship without that level of trust.
You know, Scott, I want to comment, if I can, on something you just said. And hello to you, Greg Parton. There's a real world-class kind of dude, kind of a one creation, popped him out of the mold and then broke the mold type of fella, who is always making the world a better place. Thank you, G. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. But I want to go back so that this is properly received and clarify about this comment about make them earn you. Because I'll tell you what it isn't that it could be misperceived to be. It's not arrogance. It's certainly not elitism. It's simply the self-respect to make sure that you're moving forward based on your perception that you are a good match with one another. And I think you said it not even good. I think you said it perfectly, Scott, when you said over time. Because, you know, when we're looking at micro, macro, over the long haul, you're going to take turns. That's the reality. You're going to take turns being for each other, you know, and over the long haul, it'll probably balance out somewhere about 51-49. The likelihood that it will be exactly 50-50, who knows? But 51-49 close enough. But rest assured that during that 51-49 exchange, it's going to look like 97-3 at some point.
Yes.
At some point, it might go 99-1, and it might even be 100-0. But in a deep friendship, it's a pleasure. When you're operating at 100, it's a pleasure to carry your beloved friend because there are reasons why they are at 0.
Yeah.
And a quality friend remembers, and all of a sudden life happens. The clock ticks, and now we're 5 years beyond that time when one of the two of you was at 0, and my, oh my, how things change, because now we're in an 85-15 scenario that is the reverse, right? Where the person who was in a place of power and strength and readiness and capability across the board, be it emotional, financial, spiritual readiness, whatever it is, and now they're kind of in a gutter chapter of life. This does not mean they are a lesser human being. It means that that's what's currently going on. And someone who has the broad view of us does not take our inventory via an isolated moment. They're actually granting us the same, and this becomes a very spiritual discussion. I actually love it when human beings can look at us the same way that I genuinely believe God looks at us. I believe that God is the God of the macro. I think that God looks at us through the lenses of what is usually true. And in the same way that in a track meet, we hope we are in one of those scenarios where they take the high and the low and throw those out and get them to counterbalance each other. You know, I would love to believe that with the contributions we make in life that are affirmative, that are love-centric, that somehow if we get a low score on a particular day for something, that can be overlooked in favor of what is usually true. And looking at the macro, and I think it is the healthiest, most beautiful way to look at another human being is, what is their macro story? What is usually the case with this person that can allow me to better understand what's currently going on and move through it without judgment? And so it's really just about being kind. So I give people the benefit of the doubt all the time in terms of meeting them and being initially warm. I just don't over-invest from the place of giving someone the benefit of the doubt. I start with a wait and see attitude, but I will be the first to admit I'm not ugly to anybody coming out the door, ever. I come from love, but I just don't go overboard until I get some evidence of what dynamic are they expressing. And the dynamic we're looking for, if we're healthy, is win-win. Win-win. And whether or not they're succeeding at that is a different story. To me, it's not about are they succeeding at the win-win dynamic, but more is their heart placed in the win-win bandwidth. Is what they intend to be in is a mutual exchange of you win, I win, we both win together. And they think in terms of words like collaboration versus competition.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's what I look for in other human beings, people that are there to row the boat of life together.
Yep. I think that it's important to remember too that, I mean, you know, everybody has bad moments and bad days and bad stretches even of time. You know, we've all been through events in life where it just sends us into a tailspin for a while. And it's like, you know, I've had friendships or relationships where the person was going through a really, really rough time, and maybe their attitude was really, really crappy, and they treated everybody around them, including me, like crap. And, you know, instead of the throwing the baby out with the bathwater, as the old saying goes, like, you know, giving them maybe not complete benefit of the doubt. I think that we can hold people responsible for being a-holes with us, you know, like, hey, I know you're going through some stuff, but don't take that stuff out on me. I'm not the one. I'm here for you.
What is the absolute correct spelling for stuff?
SHTUFF.
Okay, I just want to know the spelling.
Yeah. Look, Google it. It's a real word. Hey,
Cat Hill just sent me a text that said, "I know you would come get me out of a Mexican prison."
Who did?
Cat. And she's right. She's right. And I would also speak fluent Spanish with her captors while handing them money and saying, "Let's go. Let's get out of here."
There you go.
So, but I think that we gotta, you know, the way I see it is karma is real. And I don't mean, you know, everybody's like, oh, karma's a bitch. No, it's not.
Karma is also beautiful.
Karma is also a very beautiful thing. What you put out energy wise is what you get back, period. So whenever things are not going well for me, I sit back and go, what's my part in this? What did I do? Maybe, I don't know if you remember the old Eddie Murphy skit when he talks about calling his dad and saying he got his butt kicked or whatever. And his dad's like, yeah, you know why? You remember that lamp you broke in the living room when you were 7 years old? Like, but I mean, that's kind of deep, but I sometimes I'll think, man, is my side of the street, is it clean? Have I been keeping my side of the street tidy, whether it's in a relationship or just in my life? Because we don't know where the karma is coming from, and it can be good and it can be bad. Look at the silence. This is radio silence. Why are you guys not chiming in?
We are mesmerized by your wisdom. I'm going to speak for Scott because I was on the same page with him. We were there going, go, brother Ken. You know, Scott made an observation, and he's one of the few that has echoed a sentiment that I've held to be true for years. Scott, and I never told you how powerful I thought it was. It was probably a month-ish ago, something like that. And you were referring to the word consequences as not being a necessarily negative term.
Right.
You remember when you talked about that?
Sure,
it was so beautiful. And I thought, yeah, consequences, here's the thing, they're neutral.
Yeah.
Consequences are merely life giving us feedback, life's thoughts on this, and here they come. So consequences can be joyous. They can also be painful. but they are proportionate feedback. I think that describes what is a consequence. A consequence is a proportionate feedback, a piece of proportionate feedback. And I tell you, I have noticed life's uncanny ability to issue us an endless parade of feedback.
Yeah.
All you have to do is track it as such and notice that when I do this, I tend to get this. Tend meaning that what is more often than not the case, that's what I want to pay attention to. I want to be paying attention to the world that usually occurs when I do this. When I stick a screwdriver in a light socket, I've noticed a tendency to get my ass shocked
More often than not.
more often than not, as in that version of always. Therefore, I remove that page from the playbook of options as to what I enjoy feeling, which is the sensation of getting your ass shocked off when you stick a screwdriver into an outlet. The message here is, hey, don't do that. So all we got to do is begin tracking consequences a little more intensely and start making consequence-based decision and work backwards from what outcome do I want most. This is in this 4-tiered decision-making program that I've been teaching for years in the Extra Mile, is actually base your decisions on the consequences you desire most. So if you start with that versus what is typically the pattern, which is, what do I want? Well, what you want is important, but it's not the most important.
Yeah.
It's what consequence do I wish to create, consequence / or outcome. And when we do that and work backward, I got to tell you, plain and simply put, we're way happier. We are much happier because we have generated through choice making the outcomes that we desire. And if that's not the outcome we desire, then we can pull that choice out of the playbook and say that produces a sensation that I don't wish to experience. I don't wish to feel. So it's just wonderful. It's wonderful stuff. And getting into a synchronistic relationship with your decision making is a wonderful shift forward. Now, I was discussing with Kat, who is such a great conversational volley partner of mine, one of my dearest friends in the world. And we were talking actually earlier today about, are we the product of our past, or have we done a wonderful spiritual disconnect and our stronger relationship, which is with the person we're becoming, so that we're being pulled into who we are as opposed to governed by what is behind us. And I have really been a subscriber to this for many, many years, that we are determined by the yearnings of our soul and what is it we're becoming. Because I got to say, on the backside of the cocoon, a caterpillar is way more butterfly than caterpillar. On the backside of a cocoon, that caterpillar is way more butterfly. Therefore, its decisions should be butterfly-based decisions, not caterpillar-based decisions.
Right.
Does that make sense? You're basing it on what you're evolving into, not where you came from.
Yep.
I heard an example today. In fact, taking a walk, a friend of mine, a new friend of mine, recommended a book to me, and the name of the book is Made for More, and it's by Lisa Sasevich. And I've met Lisa. I don't know Lisa, but I have a lot of respect for her work, so I started reading the book. And one of the things that she talks about in the book is that she kind of describes it as big mind, little mind, and we have a big mind that is about all of our potential and all of our possibilities and all of the things that life can be and all the things that we can do. And then we have a little mind that is the one that goes, oh, but wait, that costs too much. Or, but wait, you might get hurt. Oh, but wait. And she said, one of the things we really don't understand is the big mind is located in the heart and the little mind is located in the brain.
Yes.
And so we think with our little mind and talk our way out of all of the wonderful things that our heart can make possible in our lives. And I'd never heard it expressed quite that way. And I for some reason, that really struck me. I really like that. And
That's amazing.
yeah, and she said that all of us, and that's the title of the book is Meant for More. And that's that. And JJ Virgin, if you're watching, thank you, because she's who recommended the book to me, and it's a terrific book. And it says, in our heart, most of us know that we're meant for more than what we currently are. So why don't we?
Scott, the triple why question, which is why then do human beings notoriously issue the power of veto to the smaller mind?
Yes. Yeah. And it's
the smaller mind has no business being given the power of veto.
Being in charge.
Really should be, and I don't should on people typically, but it should be reserved for the big mind that has the power of veto only. And so that our heart can decide really what is in our best interest, instead of, well, my wallet made that decision. Yeah. Or even worse, my habits made that decision. And so I left it up to who I used to be, instead of leaving the decision up to who I'm becoming. Yeah. And how many decisions would be more accurate decisions and more accurate depictions of who it is you are if we were allowing them to be made by the big mind that is rooted in who you're becoming, rather than your old story that you're still reciting endlessly.
And one of the things that's always bothered me is when people talk about logic, and I rely on and I think logic has become to many people a rationalization. They say I don't decide upon emotion, but they find emotional fulfillment from saying that they rely on logic.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I don't know if I explain it, but it really is challenging, I think, sometimes, because it's like the people that say, I'm not a pessimist, I'm a realist. Well, as long as you get to define what reality is, that's the issue, right? I mean, and so how we see things. Oh, by the way, the author of the book is Lisa Sasovich, Sasovich.
Scott, if I had used logic to govern my life, I would never, ever have even considered becoming an actor.
Of course.
I would never have gotten married at 19 to an 18-year-old girl. And I will promise you, I wouldn't have flown up Friday to see Ken on Saturday if that were a logic governed decision. I had a consequence in mind. I had an outcome that was desired. Mm-hmm. And when Ken drove off, the two words that were so pervasive were mission accomplished. And I did not feel good. I felt fantastic.
Yeah.
I felt great, because that's why I came here. I mean, it was such a celebrated moment of, that is what I came here to feel, this that I'm feeling. You can't buy experiences like this. And in fact, if you could bottle them up, and maybe you can bottle them up by just sharing them with someone. But I got to tell you, if you could bottle up, and this is not said, by the way, for poetic beauty, I'm talking about this literally being so, gentlemen. If you could bottle up at a molecular level the juices that were moving through me last night, that began the moment I saw Ken, and culminating in that moment that we said so long and we hugged each other and said, see you tomorrow night on the show.
Yep.
The time between those two moments, if you could take out of me, you've talked a lot, Scott, about the juice that comes out of things when you squeeze it. So if you had squeezed me last night to juice me, and you juiced me into a bottle, I'm here to tell you what that bottle would contain would make people well.
Oh, yeah.
If anyone were sick and they were to drink from the juice that was moving through me last night, they would feel happy, and they would feel, I know this much with great certainty, they would at least feel better.
Yeah.
No matter what they're feeling, they would feel better. And so I'm addicted to doing things that produce those really good feelings. And what they all have in common is that they are rooted in love.
Yeah.
They come from love.
The hour, which is the time that every week we ask the question, What did you see that made you go, ooh, that's just wrong?
Oh, can I?
Yes, please do.
Okay. How do I say this and be nice? I want to be nice. So there are on the beaches of the world people, not just women, but men too, that may be wearing swimwear.
You are really, really dancing around this.
Their
one.
choice of swimwear could be more.
They don't.
Thorough.
People don't need to wear a thong bikini to the beach because
Or a Speedo.
Or-
Right.
Well, you may remember Neil Diamond wrote a song about it. Thong, thong, blue. No? Too soon? Too soon?
Oh no, dude. So it was I saw a couple of sightings of that nature at the beach this past week, and I thought, oh, that's just wrong. But it did give me some
Material, right?
material for tonight. So
What was yours, Scott?
He knows what I'm talking about. So
Was walking in, visiting my hairstylist. They're open again, so I was walking in today to get my hair trimmed and had my mask on. And as I'm walking from my car towards, and boy, they've done such a great job at the salon where every stylist has their mask on, and just making sure that everything is safe. And as I'm approaching, this guy in a t-shirt and looked like he'd been walking or jogging or whatever with no mask on, stops and coughs and hawks up something and spits it on the sidewalk.
oh God.
Thank you for the visual.
And I looked at him and went, really? He said, what the is your problem? And I said, I'm not the one spitting on the sidewalk. It doesn't look to me like I'm the guy with the problem. So I just walked away. It's just wrong.
Wow.
Scott has shown an uncanny ability to wind up in the face of somebody who's like, hi, you want your butt kicked?
Yeah.
You keep talking. You keep talking. I'm going to kick your butt. We're going to take you outside and kick your butt. You want your butt kicked?
Oh my God.
Hey, by the way, I went to a drive-in theater this week.
Oh.
And here's my ooh, that's just wrong, because I don't even know. It's been, well, actually I did go to a drive-in maybe 5 years ago. And prior to that, it had been easily 25 years. But here's one of the changes under the heading of that's just wrong. One of their signs, because you've got a carload admission price, you've got an individual admission price. Here was a new one: a food permit. A food permit.
What?
Which means in order to bring in your own food, if you have shown up with popcorn, if you have stopped and purchased Payday candy bars or Butterfingers or Nestle's Crunch or Milk Duds or Coca-Colas that you are planning on consuming,
wow,
you have to, for $8 exactly, purchase a food permit.
Oh, that's just wrong.
And that's just wrong. Because first of all, the people who went out of their way to make that trip to the grocery store,
right,
those people were not thinking in terms of being hit up with a food permit.
I got a buddy back home who says I was 13 before I got to go to the drive-in and I wasn't in the trunk.
He had never made a legitimate entrance into a drive-in theater.
wow.
That's funny.
His dad always said, "Get in the trunk. We'll be there in a minute."
In the first movie I ever did back in 1975, the film's name was Drive-In, And one of the scenes is there's a priest smuggling in 3 of his brethren from the seminary. And all 4 of them get out of the trunk.
Oh my God.
It's pretty funny.
I haven't been to a drive-in in a long time.
So, Ken, your job is to get a DVD player between now and July 17th so that when I come see you for your birthday, I can bring a copy of Drive-In with me and we can watch it together on DVD.
That's so cool.
I meant to tell you, by the way, I had on Amazon, I had it bookmarked or whatever, the movie Flutter. Your movie Flutter.
Yes.
And I went to watch it after I finished 24.
Yes.
And it's not available anymore. I couldn't watch it. I can't watch it. I cannot find it to watch, in fact.
Well, I'm sure that it's personal.
I know. I got to find it.
You're
but
blocked, you just block it.
What we were talking about the we were I guess taking a chance. A thought occurred to me because I've met many people, and so have you, that make $12 or $13 or $14 an hour, and I'm not. This is not a dig on anyone. I've been there, but like, that they're so much more capable. And yet they don't know how to bust through that ceiling. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Sure.
Well, help them bust through the ceiling right now. Don't open that can of worms unless you're going to provide a life raft, Ken.
Well, I don't think that I don't think that it's a, hey, in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to show you, like, that's not real. I think that it moves on more of a gradient, that people start. For me, it wasn't like one day I went from, well, my worth is $12 an hour to, it's you start making these incremental increases and you continue doing the next right thing. You continue to educate yourself and learn more and more and more. And eventually you hit those higher notes. At least that's been the way I've taken the harder path in life. I feel like sometimes, what do you think? What do you think keeps people there? Because there are people that never get past that mindset. And they're far more capable, but they never get past that.
Scott?
Well, to me, that's one of the toughest. You would love to be able to say, I will mentor you, I will help you, I will. But I mean, the hard, cold, cruel fact is that, it's why they say when the student is ready, the teacher appears. It implies that not only will the teacher, be there to help, but the student has to be ready. In antiquity, they said, seek and you will find, which means that finding is reserved for seekers. And until that individual is ready to seek and is ready to be helped, is ready to be the student, it doesn't matter how hard you teach. It doesn't matter how much you want to help. I think that's one of the things that, when we see situations of families, that are members of Al-Anon or Nar-Anon, the groups for parents and support of folks who are dealing with addiction. That one of the things it's talked about is you can love, but you cannot force someone to be more than what they believe in themselves.
Right.
You can inspire them, you can try, you can show them examples, but at the end of the day, if you can't believe in them more than they believe in themselves and expect to have lasting change. And
in metaphysics, they would say that mental equivalency is not downloadable.
Ooh.
You cannot download a mental equivalent to someone that exceeds their own. Yeah. It's exactly what you're saying, Scott. By the way, Random thought under the heading of this week's Smartest Viewing Award goes to Robert Brooker. I'm sitting here blown away by some of his comments.
Yeah.
And one of them, can you scroll back and illuminate Robert's comment on karma when he says this is a neutral transport? I want to read it out loud. Karma, this is a neutral transport that delivers what you have earned as it relates to energy, positive or negative, is up to what had been put out. I have met some that use this term to mean something other than it is. They also do not take kindly to being corrected. Robert, you are a pleasure, my friend. Thoughts of this ilk are always welcomed. You're a thought-provoking person, and I just love it. And yes, and yes to that post.
Amen. We have got some really great people on here tonight.
Alan Skidmore, I noticed he commented on Flutter being a great movie. My dear brother Alan, we usually want more for people than they want for themselves. And like Scott says, until they can see their potential, we are frustrated for them. You know, I think it's also important to recognize, gentlemen, that not all people, and I think this is an elitist, this one is targeted for the elitists of the world. A little teaching that elitists need to become more aware of is that not all people are equally driven.
Yeah.
Not all people are equally driven. Some people.
Why?
But that's what I love what he said about we are frustrated for. Alan, it was perfect because he said we are frustrated for them. It doesn't mean we're frustrated at them.
Right.
But we are frustrated for them because we see, but isn't that what, I mean, you know, that's what I do for a living is, you know, I'll consult and talk with groups and see things in their business that they don't see themselves, even though they work in it every single day. And guess what? I have friends who will tell me things about my business. Ken has been one of them that I've done this forever and didn't see it myself. So we need that. And again, talk about full circle. Isn't that one of the great things about friendship is that friends can be so objective and so truthful with us that they can tell us things that help us gain a vision that otherwise we would not possess.
Yep.
Yes. Unequivocally, yes, Scott.
That is one of my favorite things about consulting and coaching is helping people see that, because I say that I don't say this from a place of judgment. I mean, you guys know I'm a high school dropout. I walked out in 12th grade when they said you didn't get a biology credit in 10th grade. And I said, yes, because biology sucks and I hated it. And I didn't want a credit in biology. And they said, but you have to have it. It's the rules. And I said, well, your rules suck too then. And I'm out of here. And I walked out. And you know, and it was when I got into sales that I realized that at about 20, 21 years old, oh God, I don't know anything about selling. And so I started studying the greats and you know, but I know what it's like to be in that mentality of I'm only worth X amount of dollars per hour as an employee or whatever, or to have other people tell me what I'm worth. And maybe it goes back to, I had Andy Frisella on my show one day. Andy is the CEO of First Form Fitness. He's very outspoken on social media. Great guy. But I said, Andy, what is it about you that gives you that insatiable drive that you seem to have? Because he does. He's doing $400 million a year in business. I mean, he is killing it. But for the first 10 or 12 years, he made a cumulative total of like $55,000 in his business, right? I'm talking, that's $5,500 a year. And I'm like, what? You could have made more money working at McDonald's. And he's like, I know. but like, I said, what is it that gives you the drive that's gotten you to where you are, not just financially? Because as you guys know, and we kind of talked about this pre-show, it's not just about money, but boy, does money give you options and freedom to say, hey, I'm going to jump on an airplane at the last minute and fly up to Nashville and meet my buddy in real life for the first time on the side of the freaking interstate.
And not be invested in how much time we spend together, because it doesn't matter. The bottom line is I want to see him. And if we have a half hour, great. If we have 90 minutes, great. Whatever we do, if he stays overnight in Nashville, great. If he doesn't, great. I'm not attached to the outcome. I want this experience.
Yeah. But that's the thing. And so when I asked him what gives, because that's a question for me, like we all know people that are super, super, super wealthy and driven and successful. And you're like, what is it about that person that gave, like, I don't believe God shows favoritism. I'm sorry. I don't believe in that whole thing that God's out here going, well, and we're going to make Glenn a trillionaire and Scott, we're just going to leave Scott at a billionaire and Ken is a thousandaire. And, and I'm kidding. But like, and he said, honestly,
by the way, as a thousandaire, thanks for buying me that sweet tea last night. That was even more generous of you than I realized.
More like 100-aire. But anyway, I'm just kidding. So what Andy's answer blew me away. He said to me, honestly, it's because I've been bullied my whole life. I said, what? He said, I was bullied as a kid. I was bullied into my teenage years. I was bullied a lot. And
so he learned about compassion.
I think that just gave me a drive that I'm going to show these blanks what's up. and I think that there's something to that. Do you guys agree or not?
Oh, how many successful people do you know that have a very, very similar story?
Right.
That they were inspired by, and it's hard to be inspired by comfort.
Amen, man.
We desire that, but I mean, if you're coming, there's a lot of things about the book that I disagree with, but one of the great opening lines of any book is the opening line of Jim Collins' Good to Great. And the sentence is simply, good is the enemy of great.
Great, yeah.
Yep.
Not the precursor, not the opening act. It is the enemy of great. And I think truer words were never written. That's true. For many of us, but I'm making $25 an hour. That's good. Hey, I know people that wouldn't quit a job they hated because they'd earn 4 weeks vacation, and to go somewhere else, they'd have to start over with 2.
So I have a thought, gentlemen, on this topic, if I may. And that is, one, not everyone is identically driven or even similarly driven. The other is that for those who might otherwise be driven, it's the law of exposure, meaning what have they been to this point exposed to? What exists for them in the realm of what's possible? So, and I think that what you'll often find is the profound absence of a transformational event that occurred in the life of someone that shifted their perception of what's available for them in this lifetime. And when you remove that from the equation, the outcomes are night and day different. So it's up to the individual to allow themselves to be placed in close proximity to a transformational event, something that produces an unforgettable and profound shift within them, where they go, until that, the truth is I really didn't know that was available for me. And maybe someone had tried to intellectualize it before, or I've always believed that was available, but not for me. that's available for other people. And so I think there's a lot to be said for, have you exposed yourself to a transformational event? And I've seen it too often to not believe in that.
Yeah. What, I think though that a lot of people live an average life, that they want more, but they don't realize, maybe they don't realize that. I mean, I worked at the Honda factory at 18 years old, making 30 years ago, making $45,000 a year, which is equivalent to 130,000 now, right? And at the moment, remember, high school dropout, I was like, I'm a baller. Like, I am balling now, man. But like, I don't know that people realize that there's more available. And one of the things, like Scott mentions this book, I've got it pulled up on a separate tab from what we're on right now. I'm buying the book as soon as we're done, because I am hungry, man. I'm hungry for not necessarily just more money, although more money. Look, we just went on an amazing vacation.
And I'm guessing it wasn't cheap.
It wasn't free. Although I was hoping the manager of the place would come up to me and say, "Hey,
aren't you
reviewed your bill, and we'd rather not charge you."
We did not know that you are friends with Glenn Morshower and Scott McCain, and as a result,
it's double.
We want
right. We'd have doubled your bill had we known that you were hanging out with prosperous cats.
Right. So, but I mean, again, and the more money you have, the more people you can help, et cetera, et cetera. But again, I think that there are a lot of people that don't realize that more is available. More is available. Better is available.
And not just more money, but more of more whatever is important to you, and whatever, more learning. I mean, good grief. I think about how we ignore that anything you want to learn is available. Oh, thank you, Bruce. I appreciate that. We did not set this up in advance. I promise you. But I mean,
Bruce was 2 minutes late with that. I told him to write in at 8:20.
It was at 20.
Bruce, come on, man.
Thank you, Bruce. I mean, if you want to learn a foreign language, you can do it immediately. It's you can learn it on your phone. If you want to read the great works of the world, you want to read anything from the Iliad and the Odyssey to Steinbeck to Hemingway. It's right there. It's around us. So anything we want is around us, and most of us go to this incredible banquet with just a tiny little plate.
Oh, so true, man. This is my favorite conversation we've had on this show, I think. And it's because I think, and I can't imagine that there are too many people watching that wouldn't agree with that. I mean, don't we all want more? Don't we all, aren't we born into this world to be and have and do more in life than what we're doing? I mean, even if you are a billionaire, shouldn't, and I'm not talking financially. Sandy wants to know if you're a billionaire, Scott. He doesn't.
Depends on where you put the best. No, I just want you to know, my financial advisor said I have enough money to last me the rest of my life if I die Thursday.
Right. That's great.
But
honey, take Scott's financial advisor off my list of people I want to do business with, would you?
Ken, I think the answer is yes and no to what you're saying. I mean, yes, Sophia, I think is exactly right.
Amen.
When you are a person that wants more, and when you are a person that is curious, it is very easy to assume that everyone else is that way. And there is a reason that Thoreau wrote that most men, and now men and women, lead lives of quiet desperation. It is because we're not. There are people that aren't curious. There are people that just don't want more. And it's so impossible for those of us like this, you know, in the music business, you know, we all have friends that are in the music business. Well, that's one of the things that always interests me is that, yeah, they play their hits in concert, but when you're talking to them, they always want to talk about what's next, you know, writing another song, or our next album is going to be our best one, or our next show. And they don't spend a lot of time looking in the rear view mirror. I want to jump on what Athena says. It doesn't say money is the root. It says the love of money is the root.
That's correct. Thank you for knowing the correct phrase, Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah, money, it's never, that's an inaccurate quote. Money, it's the love of money. So money is certainly not the root of all evil. And in fact, my stepfather, Harry Moorshower, said it this way. He said, rich or poor, son, it's good to have money.
That's right.
I love that. He
That's
also
so
said,
true.
I've been rich, I've been poor. I love this one from Pop. I called him Pop. He said, I've been rich, son, and I've been poor. Rich is better.
Right. It's so true. And here's the thing. People, we are programmed to have these cute little sayings. Money is the root of all evil. Rich people are evil. Rich people are selfish. We're programmed to believe these all things to justify where we are.
That's correct.
Broke. I love, and I'm just going to say it. Like I heard Grant Cardone one time say, a guy came up to me and said, you know, Grant, money's not everything. He said, I looked him dead square in the eye and said, you're broke, aren't you? I mean, but that's the thing is we justify being broke or being stuck or not going for more. And we have all these ways to justify and rationalize staying stuck instead of saying, you know what? I believe more is available. So I'm going to go over to Amazon. I have it pulled up. I'm looking at it right now. And I'm going to get Meant for More, the proven formula to turn your knowledge into profits by Lisa Sasevich. I'm going to get that book and I'm going to consume that book. I'm not going to do what 90% of the world does and buy a book and only read the first 10 pages and then stop reading, because if I read the whole thing, I'm going to pick up a nugget in there somewhere.
I want to mention, though, back to Athena's question, which was a really good one. And Sandy, gosh, no, I'm as far from a billionaire as anybody. It's easy to make the mistake. And again, I go back to the wise Jim Rohn, who famously said, money is neutral. Money makes you more. So if you are an evil person, money will make you the worst human being to come down the pike. It will make you, it magnifies. If you are a generous person, money will move you to give your fortune away and make great things happen. So whatever you are, money makes you more of that. Seldom does money change a person in terms of what's in their heart and what's in their giving. It brings it magnifies what they are.
Scott, I heard it said this way, that money magnifies a pre-existing condition.
Yes.
And really, really true. Now, if I may throw this little conversational rock into the mix, which is that I also think that there is a profound disease, and I don't think there's a country in the world that has this disease worse than we do, which is the disease of more, right? Where there is this unquenching quest for more, which means it'll be better when. And my simple response to that is, no, it won't. No, it won't. It won't be better than when, because in this pursuit of more, then when you get the more that you're pursuing, you'll decide that it's not enough. Yeah. And so at some point, there has to be a healthy spiritual decision to go, you know what? Call it good, meaning a moment, like this moment, and breathe. This is a good moment. Not it's going to get better when I get that raise, or when I get that TV series, or when this, or because you know what? Derailments can occur without warning. Yeah. And so when a derailment occurs, I want to be caught smiling. I want to be caught celebrating my life. We
Yeah.
don't know exactly when it's going to end. And I'm committed to feeling good now and at that time as well. So be careful if you live in this belief that your happiness is at one Lamborghini away, because your happiness is a decision away.
Yep.
And that decision is a singular decision. And the decision is a decision to be happy based on your right to be happy now, as opposed to once you acquire something. If your happiness is linked to acquiring something, there's a really good chance you will never be happy, because you will always be scouting new ideas of what you think you need to acquire in order to also acquire happiness. And I encourage you to just look around you and notice that your life is already abundant. Look, if you can get up right now when we end the show, and we're going to go probably a few minutes over tonight, gentlemen, which is beautiful, but if you can get up and walk away and go have a clean glass of water or a meal, just if you can move, what a great reason to be happy. If you look up and have a roof over your head, whether it's an efficiency or a 6-bedroom house, you have a room over your head, right? A roof over your head. You have a bed to sleep in. Is there someone in your life that you care for? Is there someone that cares for you? Is there someone you know? I have 2 gentlemen right here in front of me that I care for, and they know I care for them. Because I don't wait to tell them it live in front of people. I call them during the week and remind them I love and appreciate you, and I so enjoy that we spend our Sunday evenings together reaching out and influencing a lot of hearts. So what are we taking notice of becomes the question. And I want to offer this as a litmus test for whether or not you are happy. Okay? Here is my litmus test for whether or not you are happy. You are happy if your alarm clock is not something that pisses you off. If your alarm clock going off means that it's a new day to be who it is you are and have what it is you have exactly as it already is.
Yep.
That you are alive and grateful instead of, oh God, another week. Right? So I really think how we feel when we hear the alarm clock is an accurate depiction of whether or not we're happy in our uniquely assigned sack of skin. I love my alarm clock, and most days I don't even have one. But I know this, when I do have one, it's going off for a great reason. And I took a power nap because I flew in from Nashville today and I wanted to be energized for the show. So I laid down for a beautiful 90-minute nap, and I woke up before the alarm. But had I not, had the alarm awakened me, it would have been to go hang with my buds, Ken and Scott. And I love that reason for the alarm clock going off. So I think the solution here is to fill your life with reasons you're thrilled that your alarm clock is going off for. And that's up to the individual. The individual gets to decide, what do I want this ever so brief dance to include? This ever so brief dance referring to life in its entirety. What do I want it to include? I don't want it to include me being pissed off that an alarm clock has rung. I want it to include me going, it's another day to celebrate. And I do mean that. This is not just some Frankie feel-good statement. It's the truth about life. We get to design it. We are given a blank canvas and a paintbrush, actually several paintbrushes and a whole lot of paint. And every day life gives us with that. And what are you going to do with your paint and your brushes?
Can I address this right here?
Sure.
I think that the biggest mistake that people make in life is they leave their life to chance. They don't take control. There was a moment back in 2017, so 3 years ago, that I realized I was giving my life away to chance. I was not making my life go well. I was giving it away to chance.
What prompted that awareness, Ken?
The moment that it was in meditation, I decided to write my book, and I started writing my book, and I made the decision that I was going to write my entire book. It's only a 74-page book, so it's a short story, but it's a smaller book. But I said, I'm going to write this book. I'm going to self-publish it. I'm going to have this thing finished and ready to go to Amazon in 10 days. And as you know, it's very difficult to write a book in 10 days. It's very difficult, but I did it. And I at that moment that I did it, I realized, holy crap, I have been giving away my life instead of taking control and making things happen in my life. I think that people are living life from a defensive place instead of an offensive place, because they were programmed by somebody else or some group or somewhere. They were convinced that. And I saw somebody else make a comment. I don't know where it is now, but it was something about Brigitte says, happiness expects that something happens. Be joyful without expectations. And Brigitte, I'm not calling you out, but I'm saying I lived my life for many, 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 many years under the idea that expectations are premeditated resentments. That's a cute little saying in the recovery movement. What I realized in the moment that I finished my book is, God, I've been not expecting enough. I've not been expecting enough. I've not thought big enough. I've not made my life go well. Instead, I've just sat back and allowed life to toss me around on the waves with no like, this is how I'm going to make it go. This is what I'm going to shoot for. This is what my expectations are of myself and the circumstances. It doesn't mean that I'm attached to the outcome, but I have expectations. Don't you guys? I mean, Glenn, when you boarded that airplane to leave Dallas and go to Nashville, did you have any sort of expectation that it would arrive safely in Nashville and you would be able to deplane?
Yeah, Scott and I laughed about that word.
I know. Right. I heard that. But did you have an expectation that you were going to make it safely?
Yes, I did, and I also held the expectation that the pilot knew how to fly the aircraft better than I did.
Right. So we have to have expectations. For the love of God, we would go stark raving mad. Scott, I know we're a little over, Scott, but you really look like you have something to say.
And I love what you're saying about expectations. I think you're spot on. I have always come from the point that I think that happiness is a miserable goal. And that money
is said, brother.
And that money is a miserable goal.
Amen.
Money and happiness are the byproducts of a life well lived, of doing what needs to be done.
Hey, Ken, let's give him some jazz hands on that one also.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really got jazz hands all over.
That's so freaking true.
The people that I know who have set a goal to be happy are those, and Glenn, you mentioned it earlier, it's the people that, oh boy, it's the kid in school that says, man, when I graduate, I'm going to be happy. And then he graduates and says, oh man, when I get married, then I'm going to be happy. And then they get married. And then, oh, when we have kids and start a family, then we're going to be happy. And then when we buy the house, and then when we get the kids in college,
it's
and then
never ending.
Big RV, we're going to retire and travel the wonderful country. and they've spent their whole life not knowing how to be happy.
When I get these last 2 teeth of mine pulled out, then I'm going to be happy.
Happiness is not centered on an event. Happiness is the residual benefit of a life well lived. And that might be that your life is given to service, and money has nothing to do with it. It might mean, and money is the residual benefit. It's the residual benefit of making a product that people want to buy and believe in, or contributing a service that people value and pay you for. And if money is the goal, is happiness is the goal, it goes against what I think goals are. But the happiness and the funds can be the residual benefit of living with purpose and integrity.
Amen.
This is a yes and, Scott. Yes, in that you are entirely right. And the and I would offer as, when we make happiness a goal, it also is a very loud statement that I ain't got it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Right. I mean, for example, it's not my goal to be a male. I am one.
Yeah.
So the minute I make it my goal, then I'm saying I'm not that. And now I live under the misguided belief that I have to go fetch it.
Right.
Happiness isn't fetchable.
Right.
Nobody's going to go fetch happiness. Scott has just spoken at a very, very centralized truth that happiness is indeed a byproduct of a life well lived. What is a life well lived? I would say a life that factors in the importance of alignment.
Yeah.
Alignment, being correctly aligned. They offer you this when you go in to have your car checked. One of the things they ask you is, how long has it been since you've had an alignment? And so where is the discipline for humankind to put ourselves on the metaphorical lift? We do it for automobiles. Why don't we put ourselves on a lift? I do. And by the way, I think that's what meditation is.
Yeah.
I think that prayer and meditation are ways in which human beings place themselves on the lift, and they look up under the undercarriage of their beingness, and that's where they spot leaks. And they realize there is an alignment issue here, right? So I'm not operating at maximum efficiency. Why? Well, because the brake pads are edging up against the rotor. And this is fresh on my mind because we were having a tire stem issue the other day where the computer was showing, how it'll give you the readout, the image of a flat tire or low tire pressure. And it turned out that actually the sensor was what was broken, because the tires and the sensors are actually in the tires. They're in the stem. That's the higher tech tire now.
Yeah.
So all the tire pressure was great, and I knew that, and yet we're getting this light. Anyway, let me speed this along. So the message we got was it's in the stem and we can fix that. And then they also offered, of course, the upsell that all automotive places do. And they said that your brakes are pressing the rear brakes against the rotor, and it has already scored them badly. So we'll need to replace that and the brakes, and we can do that for a mere $504. Well, I grew up working on cars, so I thanked them for their sacred input, and then drove home, and for $28.99, I bought brake pads. It turns out they were lying. Shocking as that may seem, that a reputable auto dealership would lie. The rotors were fine because I am a mechanic. And I looked and I understood that they were lying, but the rotors were fine. It was not metal on metal, but it was time to replace them, and I did. So I'm thankful for one of the things in life that I'm most grateful for is know-how.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that my know-how allowed me to acquire rear brakes for $28.99 instead of $504, and I never needed to replace the rotors. So the assumption that everyone is telling you the truth is also a dangerous assumption.
There it is.
It is.
So we have to wake up to the point of realizing that not everyone is devoted to a word you mentioned earlier, Scott, which is integrity.
Right.
Not everybody shares your same quest for integrity. So I think that we want to reduce the number of people we depend upon, become increasingly self-reliant, and then shave down our list so that the people we do know we can depend upon, we know unequivocally that we can really depend upon them, and they us. And I think that the smaller that list is, the more accurate it's going to be, that you can be certain these are the dependable human beings that are in my life, and that I value being a dependable friend. Right? I think that we have to have that. That has to be an important core value. How about this? Would I want to be my friend?
It's a great question.
Woody Allen used to say, why would I want to join a club who would have someone like me as a member? Right? So following that same logic, would I choose someone like me, or would I want someone like me as a friend in my life? And then if the answer is yes, it's a confirmation that you're on the right track.
I know we need to end this. Speaking of,
it's been a great night.
It's been amazing. I do want to end, if you guys don't mind, I'd like to end with Glenn reading this, because Glenn, I'm sure you'll remember this, but I have got to draw attention to this comment.
Sure. Whose comment was it?
Susan Laurel.
Oh, my dear, sweet friend Susan, who lives in Virginia Beach.
Covered up Scott, so let me just give you full screen to cover you up only.
Okay, and now we can all be 100% covered up by Susan's comment, which is appropriate and equal and fair.
Yeah.
Susan says, one of the first times I listened to this show, I asked how to deal with anxiety because my mom was having heart surgery. You three offered so much wisdom and helpful ways for me to take control of that anxiety and change the energy I was putting out to that situation. This past week, she had to be hospitalized again, and I had a peace about it that was 180 degrees from the way I felt the first time. She came through this week and is home now, and it was so much easier because I listened to you. Well, we're grateful that your mom's home. And Susan and I had a text exchange on the plane today, and I expressed feeling grateful that mom was back, and we are. And we're just always at choice, because there's what happens, and then there is, how would I like to feel about this? Because I am in the driver's seat as to what my response is. And I want to make sure that I'm mustering up an accurate response and a healthy response, not so much a reaction, but a response. And anxiety, I happen to believe, and I don't want to open up a whole new can of worms because we are at the tail end of the show, but I think more often than not, anxiety is a choice. It's a choice to handle a situation poorly. And we can be at peace through the better handling of things as they occur. And a lot of times, the difference between a good handling and a bad handling? A mere beat.
Yeah.
Just a beat, where we take a breath, and in that breath, we gain a sense of clarity.
Yeah.
Because now we're not rushed into a reaction, but we are observing, orienting, deciding, and then acting.
Hey, Alan Skidmore says this has been our best show. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, brother Alan.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Glenn and Scott. Glenn, for what you did yesterday.
What an amazing thing Glenn did. Holy cow.
It was a pleasure. And you're next on the hit list, Scott. Coming your way, brother.
Thank you to both of you for covering last week while I was off playing in the sun and the sand. I appreciate you both. Love you both. And
take us out, Scott.
Let's go, Scott. Let's do this.
Thanks again for watching this edition of the Ken and Glenn Show with a guy named Scott. We'll see you again next week. Thanks for watching.